Welcome back to the Latvia first FinTech Forum organized by the Latvian Financial and Capital Markets Commission and Latvian Investment and Development Agency. And you know, during TV series, when you watch, so there are a certain amount of series, then second and third starts with recapping what was seen in the previous series. So I would like to check with you whether the first two sessions were interested. The ones who say yes, can you raise your hand? At least few. The ones who say it would be average, not brave enough. And the ones who said no, these were really two boring sessions, also not so many. But there is an exercise I would like you to ask. It's part of recapping what has happened before, and secondly, also do some networking. If I could ask you to find the person sitting next to you and turn to the person and spend half a minute to say, what was one thing you heard, remembered, or really found interesting during the first two sessions of FinTech Forum? Can we start now? Yes, find the person next to you. If there is no person, you can send SMS to yourself or through WhatsApp message and just say, I found this one interesting. So let's start. Introduce yourself if you are not aware, and what was interesting. One thing by each person.
Thank you, very kind.
And now it's the turn of the other person who was patiently listening to your observations. Anyone willing to share? Okay. No, that was exercise for your brain just to make sure that you are back from after the lunch break. And now the third session will be devoted to regulation and innovations, opportunities and risks. Let's turn next presentation and to the topic of overview of European digital assets landscape and Mastercard strategy. So please give a round of applause to Cristian Rau, Senior Vice President, Crypto and FinTech Enablement Europe in Mastercard. Cristian, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me just see whether the presentation comes up. Just give that a second. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having us. It's really a pleasure to be here. And before I go into the presentation, just want to speak briefly about Mastercard because we are a household name, but still might be helpful to shed some further light on this. So we're not issuing cards ourselves. We're working with banks to do so. We have 3 billion cards out in the market. We're not contracting with consumers directly, just with banks and merchants. And our mission statement is basically to enable safe, simple, and secure payments wherever consumers want to conduct these, and this is more and more so the case in the digital arena. So this is just like a bit setting the scene about Mastercard as a company. Just see if this is working. Yeah. So I'm going to speak about 3 things. First of all, I'm going to share our perspective on the crypto space, and it is one amongst many, so you can consider it our view from the perspective of a global payment company. Then I'm going to speak a bit about what we see in Europe, and also brought some case studies along. I'm trying not to make this a Mastercard sales exercise, but still keep in mind it's our view, and there will be others. So A key point when we look at cryptocurrencies and digital asset is that we have, oh sorry, the slides look a bit odd, but is that we have a very differentiated perspective. We look at free-floating cryptocurrencies, stable coins, and CBDC, central bank digital currencies. And we look at them very differentiated because we think the inherent risk and the fit for purpose for payments especially is very different. As you will see, there's these free-floating currencies. Bitcoins is obviously a very prominent one, so is Ether and others. Then there is stable coins, some of them more stable than others, as we learned with Terra Luna, which per our definition basically are tokens that are backed up by financially regulated systems that basically take out the inherent value risk. And then there's CBDCs, which is basically a digital version of the currency that we have today. In Europe, the e-krona, or the, let's say, the experiments on this is a relevant one. Then there's the digital euro that will come into being very likely in 2025, but in the context of the Peking Olympics, we also learned about the digital yuan. And Mastercard is also taking an active position here, and we, for example, have a program live with the Royal Bahamian Bank on the cent dollar, which is a CBDC on the Bahamas. When it comes to dealing with crypto, we are very much guided by the principles that we have been working with for decades, because as one of the leading players in digital payments, we cannot basically, wiggle ourselves through the roots. So we're saying whatever should work in payments needs to be stable. So stability of value, assurance, price stability is key for us. Compliance in the form of anti-money laundering, KYC, regulatory scrutiny, all these things are key for us, and consumer protection. So we cannot have that if a consumer is damaged, unless it's gross negligence, that they suffer financial risk. And we try to make these sort of set of values and preconditions make fit with the crypto world, and I think we found a very good way to exercise this, but it's very important for us as a player that connects basically the old financial world, if you will, and the new financial world, that we just stay true to these values and also transpose them into the digital arena. Getting back to the initial slide, and just to map out some of the initiatives that we're pursuing at this point. In the context of cryptocurrencies, we have crypto card programs live. You can sort of think of these basically as the crypto card being sort of a physical manifestation of your Binance or Kraken or whatever account, and you use that card of the point of sale. But what happens is that on the digital exchange, you unlock sufficient fiat currency to make that payment, and you can still consume the digital currency without the merchant or our network getting directly in touch with free-floating digital currencies. Second element is that we're looking at central bank digital currencies. As said, we already have a couple of CBDCs live around the world. We have our own sandbox where central banks can experiment and see what sort of design choices they want to make when it comes to their specific CBDC. And we see that this is very relevant at this point in time, because 80% of all the central banks are looking at this space in one way or another. And then we see in the lower right corner cryptocurrency and stable coins running through our network. At this point, we settle and process some 30 plus different currencies in our network, and we are looking to do this also with selective CBDCs and stable coins, because again here we see that with respect to stability of value, AML, and so on and so forth, this is very much in line with what we want to see on the network, and that's something we're exploring already today in pilots. And last but not least, at one point we're also looking at further enabling stable coins and other digital currencies natively in our network. Just to give you an idea, that would basically allow our partners to have tokenized deposits travel on-chain through the Mastercard network. That's very much on a very high level the initiatives we're conducting globally and in Europe in the cryptocurrency sector as of today. As you can imagine, this slide should look different. So you need to imagine that there's a peak somewhere in November 2021. That was basically when the global crypto market capitalization maxed out. Until now, it was at 2.7 trillion, which was basically roughly on par with the Indian GDP, so it really substantial. Roughly 40% of this comes from Bitcoin, and then, you know, with a very big gap, there's Ethereum and the Binance coin. This has significantly dropped since May, basically, very drastically, and took us to a position that we call crypto winter. But obviously there's some recovery at this point, and we will also on the panel discuss, you know, what this really means for cryptocurrencies in the long term. So also here you need to imagine really big numbers, because what you see here is the amount of money that flows into blockchain technology. Next to the slide before, where we basically see there is a lot of assets out there, we see that the influx of investment into the sector is substantial. We see that the infrastructure for a future financial framework is being built, and that's also why Mastercard, as one of the leaders in digital payments, is invested in this space very much so. We're among the top global companies when it comes to holding patents for crypto and payment-related matters. So, I also brought along some, also looks a bit odd, so please don't be put off by the layout of the slide. In April, May, we were conducting a market research. So we were conducting first-hand market research. We're asking more than 11,000 consumers in Europe, you know, what's your view on cryptocurrencies? Do you use cryptocurrencies? And if you use them, to what extent and in what form? And please keep that in mind, because some of the numbers surprised me because they look awfully high even in Europe, but this is stated, not versus derived. So it's really what people say they're doing, and we all know that there might be some mismatches. It's interesting to see that throughout the board, whether it's, you know, holding crypto as an investment, or at the extreme case, sort of being most involved, mining crypto yourself, it's around 20%, with a very strong bias towards younger consumers over-indexing, especially in the sector of the millennials and Gen Z. And this is really below what we see on a global basis. But obviously, if you think that every fifth consumer already today says, this is something I'm doing, and if we then look at the fact that a third of the workforce already today is comprised by Gen Z and millennials, then this is definitely something that's not going to go away. This is just to underscore that if you ask people what sort of relevance will crypto have in the future, everybody seems to be very bullish. And I think we're in a phase, and I will speak about this on the next slide, where there's a lot of experimentation. You know, there's a lot of new things popping up. Some of them will be there to stay with us, some of them will quite likely be gone, but we see basically in the crypto space already today sort of the whole heterogeneity that we all see, also see in let's say old school typical credit cards. I just brought along some cards. It's a bit hard to see on this one, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, but these are all cards that are basically issued to the consumers by crypto exchanges together with partner firms, where they say, we want to give you basically a physical representation of your stored value crypto account, and we want to enable you as a consumer to use this crypto in the real world. Again, being very clear that at this point there's no free floating cryptocurrency flowing through our system, but it gives you a different sense of engagement as a consumer if you can not only speculate with Bitcoin, but if you can use it to make daily purchases. Quite an interesting one that you see here is the Nexo card, which is special in that sense that it allows consumers to basically collateralize their crypto holdings. So without actually selling off crypto, you can use your digital wealth to sustain your lifestyle, and then at the end of the month you just pay back the money and you keep your crypto. So that's quite an interesting proposition, and again, there's many more to come. So this was, in all brevity, you know, Mastercard's perspective on what we see in the market. Again, to be very clear, we look at stable coins, central bank digital currencies, and free floating digital currencies, totally different things, and we attune our strategy accordingly to really ensure that we stay true to stability of value, regulatory oversight, and consumer protection, while harnessing the innovative capacity of that technology. And should there be any questions, I think it would be easier if you ask them later on in the panel. Thank you. Shall I just... Okay.
No, thank you, Cristian, for introduction on Mastercard and potential any card future in respect of crypto and other currencies. Now, the next speaker will talk about what is Binance ecosystem and story on implementing changes in organization to meet regulatory requirements. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Polina Brottier, Country Manager for Binance. Polina?
I will scroll a little back. Okay, just get to the first slide. So, good evening, everyone. I'm happy to make a short presentation about Binance. Binance is, maybe some of you already using Binance platform. Today is the largest crypto exchange in the world in terms of volume. And, but it's not just crypto exchange. I will tell you more about the ecosystem and about the infrastructure for cryptocurrency and for blockchain in general. So we are, as I mentioned, the largest crypto blockchain platform today, which is trusted by 1 million users around the world. And our vision is to increase the freedom of money, and we are working on providing access to crypto, and one of their values is to protect our users. Cristian was also showing the slide on the presentation about market capitalization, and here you can see the crypto adoption that is changing very fast, and the market capitalization last year was at its peak. Interesting fact about Binance that as a company, it was launched 5 years ago, and just less than half a year, it became the largest crypto exchange in the world, and also the first company to reach 1 billion in profit in history. Today we have more than 6,000 employees, so the company is growing, and we have a lot of people in our team working worldwide. So a few numbers here. We have already more than 10 million community members. We have more than 1 million weekly Binance P2P users, and the platform is available on more than 30 languages. To imagine the volume of the platform, you can see this number. It's more than 1.400 transactions which is done on the platform per second. So we also have carefully selecting the projects that are listed on Binance. We are selecting less than 3% are getting to Binance platform, and they are listed. Today we are also number one in many countries in terms of the market share, and this is related to web visits in top 100 countries. And Latvia is Estonia, Lithuania, Baltic countries are also number one in terms of market share. So here you see the list of different product we have. So as I mentioned, we are not just crypto exchange, but there are various tech products behind which we have on the platform. I will not mention all of them, but you can see that future exchange, P2P, Binance card, we have Binance Pay, which can be integrated by merchants, and they can accept crypto as a payment, earn product for people who would like to invest, and they don't do trading, but they invest in the long term, and so for more conservative. So a lot of products there. So you can also explore all of them on our platform. Today we have 118 million KYC users. That means that every user who is signing up to Binance is going through KYC process, and we are asking to provide the data information in each country. And here I will show you what kind of information we are checking. So today, Binance is having conversations with many regulators in many countries, in more than 40 countries, and today we already have at least 6 licenses in the world. Some of them are in Europe, in countries like France, Italy, and also we have in Baltic countries in Lithuania. So regarding KYC, we are fully compliant in terms of what kind of documents we ask from our clients. And here you see the list of checks or documents that we do, like word checks, screen, video, selfie, identity documents, two-factor authentication, AML questionnaire. This is done for many countries and varies from country to country, but here you can see examples of Latvia and also some European countries. We also collaborate with famous RegTech vendors and who help us to do the checks for AML, for identity verification, and for proof of address verification as well. And we also have some tools to do AML both internally and externally. Here you see how the user flow is built at Binance, so what kind of documents users need to provide in order to create an account and get activated or rejected by the system. So we also do the AML screening against the database, which is done for all our clients when they sign up, and also at the later stage as well, because the database is updated constantly. And we have various other screening for different risks. Including the transaction monitoring, which is also done internally and using internal and external tools at Binance. So we are doing the monitoring, and in case there is any problem, it's being taken care of and it's being flagged in our system. So it's quite automated and done everything in during this analytical process, done in a very effective way. So sorry, it's quite these other checks and screenings we are doing. You can see on the screen that quite a lot of them to provide with the security on our system, on our platform. And we also, besides all these checks, we are also paying attention to the user education. And so we just during the this one, we also pay attention to hiring professionals in compliance and legal teams. So last year, the number of people in both teams were increased massively, including compliance team. Now we have a few hundred people, and we also keep hiring and focusing on getting more and more people, because this is something very important for Binance as a business. And the last one, just want to show you the slide where you can use the QR code to access Binance Academy. It's just online platform that we have, where we have many articles and they are translated in many languages. So you can get, you get a lot of information everywhere online on blockchain and crypto. And this is also the useful tool that you can access and read articles and watch videos on crypto and in general blockchain topics. So this is all from my side, and here is a contact in case you have some questions. Feel free to reach out, and thank you for your attention.
Talking about the logos and things like that, if you have noticed on your badge, there's also this, how do you call it? I suddenly forgot. QR code, thank you. Getting old. Where you can actually download my or your conversation colleague card. So you can see what's the person's name, contact details, including email, etc. So you can exchange, of course, old style business cards, but you could also look up a particular person in this QR code on the badge. Now, we have started to discuss and hear about the regulatory frameworks and challenges. Now it's time for the third discussion panel devoted exactly to that regulatory framework. And did you know that the compilation of all legal acts in finance, how big is it nowadays in the European Union? It's called European Single Rule Book for Finance Sector, now consisting of more than 680 different documents on 15,000 pages. So, and still this summer, France's finance minister has compared crypto markets to Wild West with no proper standards and protection for consumers. To discuss crypto industry developments, what will be the life after MiCA regulation, and the role of regulator, I invite my colleague Marina Krasovska, Director of Financial Innovation Department of the regulator, to lead the panel discussion. Marina, please, and remember, put up your questions to Slido, and Marina also noted your questions from the previous session, which were addressed to the regulator. You can come here.
That have been risen up during the Slido during this day. And I saw a couple of questions that also have been highly rated, and I would like to also to comment that. First of all, the question was like how many companies currently we have in our regulatory sandbox. So as I said that during these 2 years operations, there were more than 60 application and innovation sandbox. So we still are working with the companies who are applied, and you are welcome also to use this opportunity. Another question was related to our next discussion, to MiCA, how fast and when we are going to, and are we going to introduce the licensing process for the MiCA and for the crypto assets. Yes, we're going to do this. Of course, you heard today the comments from the representatives of the Ministry of Finance that Latvia looks in most earlier stages to adapt the MiCA regulation. Even we will try to do it in the first half of the year. And of course, this is much more hot discussion, and everyone was waiting for it. And I would like to introduce our guests, who today will be our panelists and presenters. So I would like to invite here Cristian Rau, please. Senior Vice President of Mastercard proposal for FinTech and for crypto. And of course, besides the crypto and expertise in legal issues, Cristian is time to time preferring to spend the time in the garden, and also to hire some camp for the night. So if you are also a nature fan, so you can invite Cristian to go to the garden too. Please.
Thank you. Oh, that was loud.
discussion, by the way, we will have the most international panelists. I would like to invite Karolis Jonuška. Karolis is head of regulatory in Nordics and Baltics in Binance, that is the largest crypto exchange. Please welcome. Besides, the Karolis is also the fund, not only the crypto assets and DeFi, and not only the legal expert, but he also has more than 28 years of experience of engineering Lego. So that's why I think that this guy definitely thinks out of box, and crypto and creative thinking are also always together. It's a must. Our next panelist is Dr. Ben-Benedict Hruby. Please come up on the stage. Ben is Senior Legal Advisor. Hello, Ben. Nice to see you. Please take a seat. With the Federal Ministry of Finance in Austria. And of course, Ben is a crypto and I would say MiCA guru. So if you have any kind of question, I think it is the right person in our room to address anything about it. So it's really regulation guru. And of course, he is also a professional basketball player. So as we are the basketball fans, if someone here is looking for a team member for its team, so you can approach the band. Okay, and also we have a representative from Latvia, Mārtiņš Puķe. Please come up. Please, hello. Mārtiņš is Chief Legal Officer of Gravity team that is focused on automated trading algorithmic solutions. He's advocate for DeFi finance and of course for decentralized exchanges. But besides this, Mārtiņš can give us the sample how we shall behave in this season when the heating will be lower as usual. What he did to prepare the upcoming heating season, he started from this weekend to take a swims in Daugava. So you can join, if you like to swim, you can join Mārtiņš. So thank you colleagues very much for coming. We have a large mic that we can paste, and I would like to start with a discussion with an open question that is quite important for all of us. And of course it is life after MiCA regulation. What will happen next? And I would like to, Mārtiņš, to give you the first floor, and could you please elaborate more? So what are the main challenges that market participants will meet after the regulation will start in force? What would be your opinion?
Yeah, that's a great question, thank you. Well, overall, I would like to maybe start with a kind of a main thing that the market participants that have until now lived in kind of not regulated or semi-regulated environment will need to have to learn how to be compliant and how to deal with the regulatory requirements, and that will be a whole new challenge probably for a large part of them. It's not like nobody kind of knows how to do it or don't do it yet, but there will be changes, and there will be a supervision, and there will be supervisory audits, and there will be anti-money laundering requirements and things like that. So that will probably take. It's a good thing that MiCA has this transitory period. So for 18 months they will be able to learn and get ready. But because it will probably be a challenging process for a large part of market participants, you know, you need to train your staff, you need to probably hire new people, you need to invest in technology. So a lot of things will have to be done in that area. And if we look at the specific things, then of course there are a lot of changes, a lot of specifics that will be new. For example, probably the existing stablecoins will not be able to operate in EU as they are kind of formed now. and the EU will become kind of a bit closed market from that and that perspective. So yeah, these are a couple of things that I see that MiCA will change. But these are challenges. But I think that there are also a lot of opportunities in that will make crypto kind of more legitimate in eyes of general public, more regulated and yeah, of course regulated, but more safe to use and probably bring also more adoption from general public.
Thanks, I think a really relevant comment, and I would like to pass the mic to Ben and to see your comment. What are those experiences in European Union? What you see right now? How we can adapt to this regulation? What are the steps that we shall take?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's not that often that we travel to the Baltics from Vienna, Austria. Actually, it's my first time in Riga. It's a very nice city, so thank you for the invitation and the kind words. Just one thing, I used to be a professional basketball player, so please don't ask me, because then I would have to undergo another knee surgery and back surgery. So I used to play professionally, but today I'm not in the best shape. On the MiCA, the question was, what does it take to actually implement MiCA? Actually, before I answer that question, I would like to stress one thing that was just said, and I think that's often not highlighted enough. We, as a European Union, are the first single jurisdiction to implement a legal clarity for businesses doing business in crypto assets, digital assets, and so forth. That's a huge step, and it's not only bureaucracy and legal materials to be understood and stuff. I do know implementation is tough, and the implementation in businesses is tough, but it's also a huge opportunity, both in terms of legitimacy, to have a public opinion talking about crypto assets, digital assets, not being something scammy or something that gotta be some type of fraud. It's legitimate. We have a stable legal framework where consumers, investors are protected. They have a legal framework to pursue their rights. That's very, very important, not only for our investors, for our consumers, but also to attract third country investors or our consumers. That's very keen to our hearts to emphasize that legislation and regulatory achievements are not only paperwork, but it's also a huge step in a direction where you actually have legal clarity. Because prior to MiCA, many companies or many entrepreneurs, many startups, many fintechs asked us, the regulators all across Europe, what are we supposed to apply? Are we a security? Are we no security? Are we a crowdfunding platform? So forth. So it's a very, very huge step in the right direction to have this clarity and these opportunities to attract not only new consumers, but also new investors, new entrepreneurs within the European Union. And what does it take to implement MiCA? There I would like to stress two things. Formally, we do not have a MiCA as of now, because it's not in the official journal of the EU. It takes some time. The lawyers and the linguists are going over it, and we need a council session, but it's very likely that it's soon in the official journal. Why I'm saying that? Because after it's published in the official journal, the transition period begins to run, and it's more or less 18 months, so 1.5 years, but for several provisions that are very, very important on stablecoins, the transition period is shorter. It's just 1 year. So then we'll have 2023 to implement, and it will take, I would say, in countries where we do not have, for example, regulatory sandboxes and where the regulatory knowledge is very limited, it will take very, very much education to essentially understand crypto asset services and digital asset services. And in countries where there are some regulatory sandbox regimes where authorities have already built up their expertise within their institutions, it will take not that much to actually get it on the ground. But obviously, from a policy-making perspective, our job is done. Now we are trying to collaborate a lot with our authority, and from a market perspective, we just heard it will take a lot of briefings, a lot of training, and our task and our main issue here is to build up knowledge within the authorities too. We are in the lucky position that we have a lot of expertise already in our authority, Financial Markets Authority, because we implemented back in 2020 a national regulatory sandbox that was targeting exactly those business models. So we are in a lucky position. Thank you.
Very, very interesting. Yes, I'm just thinking the opportunities that you mentioned. So let's ask the questions for the market participants. Karolis, what do you think? Will it really bring some new business models? Will we see some kind of new activities with the crypto assets that MiCA opens for us?
So good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be in the first FinTech forum in Latvia. I heard a lot of mentions of Lithuania and Estonia today. I hope next year Lithuania and Estonia will be mentioning Latvia as a great success. As my colleague Polina greatly presented, Binance is not just crypto exchange, it's one of the world's largest Web3 platforms. And there are multiple products in there. And from market players' perspective, MiCA is a very welcome improvement in the jurisdictions that we cover right now in Europe. It's a very welcoming that we'll have pan-European approach to licensing and authorization of crypto assets, because right now the regime is very fragmented and there are many prohibitions towards what you can or you cannot do. If you look globally, and I refer to Chris' presentation, you'll see that the crypto adoption in Europe is not the highest, but is still quite high. But looking globally, the adaptation is still in low numbers, meaning that majority of population is still hasn't used crypto or still new to that. And for any business in crypto economy to advance, they need to expand the user base. And one of the ways to do that is to have more regulation in that space, which will allow you to access a larger user base. And naturally, you need that regulation to offer more products to more users. So from market players' perspective, this is a very welcoming approach. And we look very much into MiCA coming into force. However, as somebody referred in the discussion, that devil is in the details, and there are a lot of things that MiCA will need to get right, because it's a very delicate exercise to balance outright the regulatory needs versus the market needs. And if you will over-regulate some things, it will be detrimental to the market. And looking more globally, in not only Latvia or Baltics, but in Europe generally, we need to have a certain clarity, a certain consistency on the regulation for these businesses to advance, the technology to advance, and provide more high quality services to customers. So overall, it's a very positive thing, but again, we'll see how this will be implemented. Just one quick note is that I often mention in terms of MiCA that we tend to talk a lot about MiCA in crypto discussions, but there's a big and important package which will target EML regulation for crypto companies specifically. That will be very important, I think, to the business, and which will aim to, there's a ML package that will aim to unify the rules across the different jurisdictions, Because right now, if you look at the European landscape, there are many divergences on how each regulator implements those rules. But yeah, in overall, it's a positive.
It's several questions for discussion. I think the MiCA will be appreciated for the travel rules that will be introduced. I would like to address a question to the room. On Slido, could you please switch on your mobile phones and use the code 2323244, and especially also guys who are looking currently online. The question is adoption of MiCA regulation. What will bring? It would bring more sustainability and stability to the market, or it will kill the crypto, or it will open the new opportunities. Please review and vote with the question. And coming back to the discussion, Cristian, I would like to address you. How to deal with the payments, because the crypto assets and MiCA opens a new door for the payments. Do you see the perspective here?
Yep. So I think in principle, like I said, we are very much bound by the compliance and regulatory framework as we have it today. We processed in 2021 7.7 trillion USD globally, and we're basically connecting businesses and consumers in a lot of markets. So it is for us essential to be very reliable here. So when we look at regulation, basically we have sort of three principles to aim for three outcomes. So we aim for regulatory clarity, we aim for consistency, and we aim for proportionality. What does that mean? I think clarity, Ben really did a great job at explaining why clarity is so important. Consistency means basically that's connecting the old world to the new world. If you want to do payments in fiat, so in euro or Swedish krona, and you want to do it in crypto, the same standards should apply. And then proportionality means, you need to, the regulators should have a look at, okay, where do I apply the regulatory scrutiny? Who in the value chain is best suited to actually execute this? And we believe as these three principles are adhered to, we can come to a point where we achieve consumer protection, which I think was a recurring theme and which is super important in this space. We can achieve resilience in the sense that we have systems that scale. Also, when there's adverse effects that they still function. And that provide what I would call proportional innovation, right? So we need to strike the right balance between, allowing new things to flourish, and that also quite likely in many instances mean, you need to go into uncharted territory, i.e. unregulated territory, but then, that needs to be in a constant synchronization process. And in the spirit of basically looking at all the good things that SEPA in Europe and the license passporting has brought to the European to the innovation in the European marketplace, I do believe that MiCA and the travel rule can unlock that very same innovative and scaling potential while ensuring that more and more people tend to use these services because they feel that they enjoy the adequate protection. So in that sense, I think it's very good. And back to what you were saying, it's all the devil is in the detail. There's now an 18-month transition period, and then hopefully we have something that really, matches or addresses all these needs.
So let's see what are results of the pool. So the adoption of MiCA regulation will bring more stability in the existing market. The majority of experts online and offline is supporting this. Opens opportunities for new business model, right? Just what we just mentioned in the discussion. And it's pleasant to see that nobody wants to kill the crypto business. Okay, so now talking about the innovations that you mentioned and the development. If today we are focusing on how we can serve and how we can develop this industry in Latvia. And then the question to Mārtiņš, I would like to ask you more. So what the impact will MiCA or other European authorities or regulator initiatives should come and bring on the table in order to give some boost? What are your expectations?
Sorry, can you repeat the end of your question?
Regarding the initiative for regulatory, are you expecting some kind of additional initiative from regulatory side besides the MiCA that will give some acceleration for the industry in Latvia?
Yeah. Of course, you know, as I see MiCA, it will be kind of a moment where existing businesses and already established in EU will need to kind of decide where they will live now and where they will get their licenses, and also the businesses outside EU that want to serve EU market, which is quite substantial and rich market, they will also have to decide where in Europe they want to set up their shop and which country suits them best. And at this moment, I guess a lot of depends of the regulator and government, because there are, I would say, many aspects in this where when crypto business will choose whether I set up shop in Latvia or Lithuania or Estonia or somewhere else in I don't know, France or anywhere. And I would say, like, I heard very good things in the beginning of discussion that could allow those businesses to choose Latvia as a place to get licensed. In your presentation, Marina, you already showed that you can provide FinTech license in 3 months, and afterwards it was also kind of approved in a panel by actual market participant, and yes, we can get the license in 3 months, and that's actually really quick process, because I have previously I have worked in consulting and helped to set up FinTechs and get them licensed, and it usually took like a year, half a year was already really fast. So by doing this, and also by taking into account that Ministry of Finance has promised that they will roll out the licensing process in the middle of next year, I think the regulatory and government side already has done half of the job. The other half of it is potentially the marketing of it all, because I would need to listen really carefully to kind of get these things out of the presentations, and it's not like it's very wide known. So I think if you are doing such a great job, and you will be doing the same with MiCA, then the regulator needs to really step up the marketing in this. And then there's, of course, other things like being welcoming and saying to the crypto business, please come here, and we will help you, we will advise you, we will be knowledgeable in this area so that we can make the licensing process easy and do not have any misunderstandings later on when we do supervisory audits.
There is also some question here on Slido regarding the license. It was it disappeared, but the question was, can we get the same license in Latvia as in Estonia right now? Why you cannot do it? Well, actually, I have a good news. You don't need even license to start operation in crypto in Latvia. The only one step you should do is come to State Revenue Service and be registered as an AML subject, and you are openly to work until the MiCA regulation is not coming into force. You are free to decide regarding your business model in crypto. So, Ben, could you please elaborate a little bit more regarding, so what are the main issues under the debate around the MiCA regulation? Is there any kind of news or initiatives around it? You are more closer to the policymaker between us.
Okay, it's just a face-to-face discussion, so that would be fine. Everything I say today is not on behalf of the Austrian finance minister. That's kind of obvious. It's my personal opinion. But I just wanted to make one point that is very dear to my heart, because it was a guiding principle of all the MiCA regulation. And I'm very happy that the travel rule was already mentioned, because that shouldn't be not mentioned. But the driving principle of MiCA was to get the balance right between a traditional financial industry and new FinTech industry. And that's why we said, okay, we need an approach where we not only are proportionate, but we look at the business models, we look at the risks, and then we say we need the same set of rules. So that's a guiding principle, and I'm mentioning the principle because it's so important when you ask yourself how this provision should be read. Because I'm a lawyer, I'm used to it, but I think for every human being or every entrepreneur or every business, it's important to understand how lawyers or regulators are reading provisions. And if it's not obvious what's in the provision, you ask yourself, okay, what was the intention? And if the intention is not that clear, you ask yourself, okay, is there any guiding principle behind the whole legislation? And then you can say, okay, the main principle was to set a level playing field. That's so Eurospeak. We always talk about level playing field. And in this case, we just wanted to make sure that we close the gap between traditional financial industry and fintechs and new technologies that are operating in a similar business. And that's the reason why I'm mentioning this. So that would be a good way to better understand what's in the MiCA. I know the devil is in the detail, and it was, I could tell you, and that's an insight, it was a very, very tough process, and it was very tough negotiations with the European Parliament in particular. You may have heard about the proof of work ban looming anywhere. We were able to get it out, so that's a huge progress, but there is so many, I would say crypto asset literacy to be done in the public eye, even when there are huge decision makers or policy makers. Many aren't familiar with Bitcoin, Ether, stuff like that, and they react kind of allergic to stuff like that, to blockchain discussions and blockchain business models and stuff like that. So there needs to be very much, I would say, crypto asset literacy to be done. And one last insight, there is so many fields that are not addressed by MiCA. For example, the most important ones, DeFi, the whole decentralized finance use cases. NFTs, not mentioned, it's actually excluded, not within the scope. Just to mention two very, very important, I would say, use cases, issues to be addressed, and MiCA won't be the final product. There will be evaluation, there will be a new proposal by the Commission, that's for sure, maybe within the next 2 years, I don't know, maybe, maybe not. But there will be some new proposal covering, for example, NFTs, new AML developments, and the whole universe, metaverse, DeFi world.
I think you have raised very, very good questions from the Pandora box regarding the cooperation between the traditional financial sector and crypto universe. Karolis, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more in your opinion. So how shall facilitate or how shall collab this traditional finance system with the crypto universe?
I just like to react to the colleague's comment that we look forward in 2 years to NFT regulation in Europe. But yeah, so back on the point, it's safe to say that again, crypto is not the default payment instrument in the world, and it would be, on my personal opinion, would be very enthusiastic or maybe a little bit too far-reaching to say that it will be in next 2-3 years. So for that reason, crypto companies or Web3 building companies, they need integration with traditional finance. And this is one of the key pillars, I would say, of why companies such as Binance are so successful, because they allow the users a very large range of fiat currencies to be deposited, for example. Binance Card and other products, they blend traditional and crypto finance. and with partners such as, for example, Mastercard that come into play. And they allow the users to still be on a traditional finance sense, but take the advantage of the crypto products. So in the near future, at least, I would view that this collaboration is essential, and for quite some time, it will be one of the key things. I think that these two finance worlds will interact. And in the long term, we might see that one of the other, crypto might be lead in that sense. But again, we still need quite a lot of regulation and clear rules from regulators in that area. But I'm enthusiastic that's doable, because it's. For companies that operate in crypto space, basically there are, at least there used to be a couple of philosophies. Some of them went on the route of being decentralized. Some prefer a centralized road. In terms of comparing these two, I would say that the ones that, they went the centralized route, they look forward to more these traditional finance integrations. However, if you look at decentralized finance, for example, DeFi gaming and other platforms, they really take advantage of those. So to sum up, I think that this collaboration is essential. We see that happening. I think that more traditional finance players will open the gates to their users, to their customers, to benefit from the crypto, because although we can see at least publicly sometimes some doubts, but it's known that large banks, large investment banks, they've been opening and offering to their customers crypto investment products for quite some time. And it's only, I guess, a matter of time till these will be widely open and offered to the rest of the user base. But again, this is something that we need to address with more clear rules for all these market players.
Cristian, what is your opinion about the collaboration? In your Mastercard perspective, how do you evaluate it?
On the corporation, so I would agree with all that has been said, right? I think the traditional finance world keeps innovating, right, within their own realm. We see a lot of uptake in digital payments, right, because our living goes more online. We see innovation in investment, ETF, fractional shares. We see a lot of buy now, pay later. So there's this whole innovation in what we would call traditional finance. And then there's this new ecosystem of global giants, such as Binance and others, that are emerging and that build another infrastructure. And I think these will continue to exist, and they will cross-fertilize, and they will connect. So at one point, like you said, at this point, I think crypto assets and consumers offered to banks is quite likely something restrictive. So people now need to go to Binance or Kraken or Nexo. But quite likely there's going to be high street banks offering these kind of services with more peace of mind after Mika, and some of them are going to build that themselves, some of them are going to partner, and I think that's also where we see ourselves as basically connecting the dots and ensuring that we leverage this innovative potential of the old and the new world, while ensuring that there is consumer protection, stability of value, regulatory oversight. I think it will gravitate towards more cooperation, definitely.
Exactly. So please, colleagues in the room, you can also go to Slido, and I would like to share one more question with you. What is your opinion regarding the traditional finance and crypto universe collaboration? So it would be interesting to know what is your opinion. Regarding the some future forecasters, I would like to start maybe, Karolis, with you. So many of us are observing that now is something like crypto winter, but what would be your forecast? What is the next market event? I will be a little bit provocative.
So this is not an investment advice. First of all, I'm not really in the position to comment on how the market will develop, and I'm not really an expert in that area, to be honest, to comment. I guess, can share one idea that was shared by our founder, is that if you want to accumulate, something, you have to be consistent. So I would say that, just be patient. And that's pretty much it. But again, any investment into crypto assets or non-crypto assets has to be taken with the caution. You have to do your analysis, do your research. Make sure that you have enough funds and to do that. And just if you're not aware of, you have not sufficient information, I suggest to go to an advisor who's capable of doing that. I'm sorry, I'm not really into position to comment. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks. It's an interesting opinion. Mārtiņš, I have a question to you regarding also your view, the crypto, how sustainable it is. Do we see the real impact on economy, or it is just the next bubble like .coms?
My personal opinion is that crypto is not a bubble. The applications, how it is used now, probably we don't know if all of them are sustainable, and if all of them will, well, probably it's safe to say that not all of the current applications of crypto will leave a mark in a long term. But as I see that the blockchain technology itself, and most likely cryptocurrencies as well in some form, and it's difficult to say whether it will be Bitcoin or Ethereum or it will be stable coins that survive, or maybe CBDCs that are built on the blockchain. But in some form, I'm quite sure that it will exist and impact payment systems in a huge way. And one thing that kind of makes me think that I see that a lot of smart people are currently working in the sector, and the investment is continuing to flow into crypto companies and crypto sector from the venture capital funds and many different kind of investors. For example, in this year, first half of this year, the investments in crypto businesses were around $13 billion. And last year it was, for the whole year, $30 billion. So regardless of the fact that now it's kind of crypto winter, the funds are still flowing in, the people are working on new projects, and keep on kind of developing new things that will be important in future. The same with us. Our company was actually built during the bear market, and since that time, this is not the first kind of bear market through which we are living. We will just put our heads down and keep on working on new things and solutions.
So you think it's sustainable and have a good impact on economy?
Yeah. And there are already kind of many different use cases for crypto. That, for example, sorry, Karolis, that I will mention Estonia again, but for example, they're building a lot of their public registries on blockchain, and there are, well, Web3 and Metaverse is kind of developing rapidly, and in that, well, one of the there is a huge chance that crypto will be kind of a native payment in those areas.
So okay, so if you think that it still have an impact on economy, then I'm interested, Ben, in your opinion. So any ideas about such a phenomenon like NFTs? Shall it be regulated?
To be very honest, I can't comment on that. My personal take is it's an application using distributed ledger technology. It's a phenomenon. It's an asset.
And it is
Question
out of
mark.
MiCA. And it is out of MiCA regulation, right?
Yeah. So I could ask you if you have a NFT on your plate with the existing legal framework, what is it?
I'm not an NFT owner yet.
Sorry?
I'm not an NFT owner yet, but
Okay.
I'm considering to be a digital artist maybe.
But
But I was interesting, does it have an impact on economy? Because we see that there, of course there is some kind of payments that could be introduced. Maybe it is much more valuable for merchants. We see that fraction-wise lending is appeared on the market as a product, and it also goes to the, but there is some dots in a regulation or in a market that are uncovered, and we could not evaluate the sustainability of that. So how seriously shall we take it into account? What would be our message as from the regulatory or policymaker side?
yeah, to be very blunt here, we asked ourselves the same questions actually, and we shouldn't like ask for new EU legislation for every single application using DLT. That would be my personal take. We have a stable legal framework in place. We closed some gaps. That's why I was stressing this issue, closing the gap between the traditional finance industry and the FinTech industry, where we have seen, okay, there are some loopholes that are very, very deep, and we need to close them. Concerning NFTs, it came actually, and this is an insight, or maybe it's public knowledge, it came from the European Parliament. They said, okay, that's a phenomenon, we need to address this issue. There are so many cash funds floating in NFTs investments. We need to address it. Let's put it in MiCA. And the council, so the finance ministers, were very, very skeptical about this shooting at moving targets, I would say. And I think that's the pragmatic, good solution, because we do not fully understand NFTs. And I think, and that's a general approach we always take, we first got to understand what we are regulating, because regulation is a very, very sharp knife. And once we better understand NFTs, maybe there will be a regulation. When we say, okay, there are huge loopholes, we do not know how to tackle NFTs or NFT losses. Nobody is asking for regulation if there is a bull market. Everybody is asking for redemption, for right of withdrawal and stuff like that, consumer protection, when there is a bear market, when people are losing money in NFTs, for example.
Okay.
So my personal take is we will address it, we think about it, we talk to like issuers of NFTs, and there is a great approach the SEC uses. They say, okay, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So we are asking ourselves, is an NFT a security? That's a wild proclamation, but maybe it's a security, maybe it's not, maybe it's a commodity, maybe it's, I don't know. But we are having it on the plate, we're looking closely at it, but as of now, I don't know if it should be within the MiCA or not. A slight tendency, it shouldn't be in a MiCA regulation.
Okay, thank you. And we have just 1 minute left in a moment. And as we can see and observe here, so the majority of the experts considering that the crypto will definitely make the financial system much more stronger. That is quite good. And it's very short and last question to you, Cristian. So the merchants are able to accept the payments in crypto already?
I mean, some of them are, right? So what we do, we allow, as I try to illustrate, and I don't want to bore you again by going there, but we allow people to spend their crypto denominated cards without the merchant being exposed to that value fluctuation, because there's this real-time exchange. And from our perspective, that's a very good way to combine usability with the consumer and protection for the merchant. Still, some merchants make the conscious decision to accept Bitcoin payment that would not be via Mastercard rails at this point. So I think it really depends on the merchant, the nature of the merchant, right? If I'm, for example, a luxury car dealer that sells, I don't know, 1 car a week or whatever, and it's a transaction of a couple of 100,000, then we can look both real time, you know, what's the value of Bitcoin, we calculate, we make a payment that works. Does that work, you know, in your typical grocery supermarket? Quite likely not, right? And I think both from a consumer perspective as well as from a merchant perspective, nobody, especially in the digital, in the e-com space, nobody ever had more choice to make and accept payments as there are today. And I think that's per se a good thing. And there's things, you know, that we facilitate that are in line with what we want to see. And there's a whole lot of other things people can do as they please.
Thank you. I think it was a very interesting discussion, and I have like 1,000 more questions to ask you, but I think we can continue out of the stage. And I would like to thank all of you for your participation and for cooperation with us.
It's good to meet you. Thank you. Sorry.
According to CoinMarketCap, I just checked, there are now 20,000 different kind of crypto coins in the world. So a bit of different type of investments to be made. But now it's time for networking, digital expo and coffee break, and we reconvene in 15 minutes, 3:45.